This year's annual report was presented to you in a film which can be found on LMH TV. Because it was 30 minutes long, we have split it up into shorter sections.
Liverpool Mutual Homes. Investing, creating, regenerating.
Hello, this is a special film version of Liverpool Mutual Homes
2011-2012 annual report.
We are going to show you all our achievements and progress from the last year.
And share our hopes and targets for the next one.
So, sit back,
Relax.
And enjoy.
Oh, and don't forget to let us know what you think.
This is the fourth annual report of LMH, which is highlighting what LMH have done and what the proposals are for the future in investment, and also involvement within the communities, which I think is very important. LMH are doing very well with, and I feel privileged to be part of that involvement.
This year has been a busy year for the tenants and the residents of LMH.
Scrutiny panel reviews how LMH manage antisocial behaviour and complaints. Tenant inspectors reviewed the customer service centre and how customers access services. The Review Standards Group has been involved in policy review work with LMH. And the Positive Peoples platform received 2 awards this year. Many tenants and residents involved at a local level continue to help LMH deliver quality services in their neighbourhoods. A special thanks to everybody who contributed to this report. Eric Hamlet, Jean Clark, Peter McKenna, Natalie Pryor, Charlie Sweeney, Mary Shields, Sheila Fitzpatrick, Terry Wilson, Ron Duncan, Jackie Bly and Elena Lloyd.
I'd like to welcome you to LMH's annual report for 2011 and 12. And we've taken the step this year of producing a video version of the annual report in addition to our printed version that we've distributed to tenants. Co-regulation is very important to LMH and for housing associations right across the sector. And central to that is the work that we've done during 2011-12, setting up our scrutiny panel and getting accreditations and testing our services and getting other people outside of LMH to see how successful we are at delivering what we say we're going to do. When LMH was established right at the beginning in 2008, one of the key issues at that time was the delivery of our 5-year investment programme across our stock, bringing up our homes to decent home standard and making improvements beyond the decent home standard. And we've delivered through 2011-12 a massive programme of investment which has been very well received by tenants and other residents alike. A big initiative during 2011-12 was the establishment of HMS, or Housing Maintenance Solutions, which is our new repairs business, which is a subsidiary of LMH and is there to deliver our repairs and maintenance services. HMS has been more successful than any of us could have imagined already, even in its short lifetime. The key issue which started in 2011 but has come even more so to the fore this year and will in future years without a doubt is welfare reform. And there's a huge tsunami of change that's about to hit people who are dependent upon welfare benefits. And already in 2011-12 we took steps to get information out, to inform people of what's going to be happening, and we'll very much build on that in 2012-13 as that becomes reality and comes online. On a final note, LMH is obviously operating in a very difficult environment at the moment, and I think we see all around us the difficulties in the economy, the changes in public policy, which all have direct impacts upon LMH as an organisation, but very much so have impacts directly upon our tenants and residents in our communities. And we've embraced that agenda to see how we can insulate people from the worst effects of those things and plough all of our resources and prioritise our resources at the outcomes that our customers want to offset as many of those negative impacts as we possibly can. And that's a firm commitment from LMH that we'll continue our activities on that basis.
The government has introduced a Welfare Reform Act which is going to make significant changes to welfare benefits which will affect many of our customers. They'll affect people who are on housing benefit, so if you're in seat of housing benefit and if you're working age, you may be affected by some of the reforms. For example, the bedroom tax, which is to come in April 2013. It won't affect people who are on pension credit. So if you're on pension credit and pension credit age is 61 6 months, you won't be affected by the change. But if you're in a property and you do have a spare bedroom, you may be affected. The government are planning to introduce one single benefit called Universal Credit. They'll introduce it in 2013 and applicants will be phased over to the new benefit by 2017. The benefit will be paid as directly to the claimant or directly to the tenant monthly in arrears, and within that payment will be the amount for housing costs, which then the tenant will have to pay directly to LMH. We understand that everybody's different and will be affected in different ways by the changes. To see what support and advice we need to give our tenants going forward, our neighbourhood teams will be contacting tenants who we think may be affected by the changes.
The home standard's about the quality of your home. It's about the service that we provide for you for delivering repairs, getting it right first time and making sure we've invested in your homes and delivered that service healthily and safely. Last year we set 3 priorities to focus on, and the first of those priorities was to get our homes decent. By March 2013 all our homes should meet the decency standard, and then going forward we will have a programme of works to keep them decent. A second priority is to complete our programme of refurbishment to communal areas and to our sheltered schemes. We've done a lot of work working with our tenants in sheltered schemes, consulting with them on what it is that they'd like to see in their homes and in the communal areas. We've commissioned designers to work on each scheme, procured contracts, and we've actually got some contracts on site now delivering the improvement works. Our third priority was to improve the repairs service, and we've set up our own in-house maintenance contractor. It's a wholly owned subsidiary, and that HMS is the name of the company, and they're delivering the repairs service. I'm really pleased with the progress that they've made, the improvement in tenant satisfaction and getting the repairs done right first time.
In July of this year we reached our first birthday, which was a magnificent milestone for the company. We achieved so many great things, I think, improving the responsive repair service for all the customers in the first year. The first year we managed to achieve 100% attainment for emergency and urgent repairs, which we're really pleased about because customers hadn't had a service of that nature before. In the first year we undertook over 55,000 responsive repairs, carried out repairs to over 1,000 empty properties throughout the city, and also carried out gas servicing to nearly 14,000 properties. Throughout this period, when we expanded our services, we maintained customer satisfaction levels to over 95%, which was a great achievement. Recognising the success of the first year, HMS and LMH jointly won Partnership of the Year, which was very rewarding, I think, for all the staff, for all the hard work that they'd undertaken in that first year. We won't be resting on our laurels, and I think that we know that we can do even better moving into this next year. We're very, very confident that we're going to be delivering even better services than the first year.
90.6% of all repairs were completed on time.
88.47% was satisfied with the repair service.
83% of our homes meet the decent home standard.
And we spent £65.9 million on planned maintenance and £13.7 million on everyday maintenance.
Over the next year, we're going to make sure that we've delivered our 5-year promises and that we've established the impact that those promises have had on the community. We're embarking on a new build programme, which is exciting for Liverpool Mutual Homes. So it'll be 36 new homes getting built this year, and a further 50 planned to be completed the following year. It's great news for tenants who will have that opportunity for a new home. We also work on initiatives that will improve outcomes for the community, and we've been successful in working with partners to attract grant to support some of our residents back into work. and we've got a couple of projects that we're working on with the Department of Work and Pensions and Connections and the Women's Organisation to get people back into work, particularly women. We've also been successful in receiving 71 homes from the City Council that had been programmed for demolition, but with the downturn in the market, it was expected that the plans to demolish and then build for sale wouldn't be successful, and LMH put a proposal to the City Council to acquire the homes and invest in them and bring them back to life, which we're just in the process of completing now. The first handovers are just coming over, and they're a really great standard, very energy efficient, great space standards, and breathing new life into Broad Lane. Our final priority for next year is working on the environmental and communal improvement programme, and we'll be spending £12 million on improving the environment.
The tenancy standard is about how we let our homes, how we manage the rent, and how we manage the tenancy agreement. One of our priorities for 2011-12 was to develop a money advice pack. We developed a Money Matters newsletter and a suite of information leaflets that went out to all tenants advising about the implications of welfare reforms. Another priority was to develop a project to link up with all credit unions. We worked with the money lending team to make sure our tenants were aware of doorstop lenders and money sharks, loan sharks, and encouraged maximum take-up by the credit unions. We wanted to work with tenants and customers to develop a sub-regional choice-based letting scheme to maximise choice. This scheme extends the scheme that was in place beforehand and involved 5 local authorities and 22 housing associations, so it provides our customers with access to far more accommodation throughout the sub-region.
What we actually do is we go out and we support some of the most vulnerable tenants that Liverpool Mutual Homes actually have. And what we actually do, we support them within their tenancy and to make their tenancy sustainable. So that could be, we might go in and see that a tenant has drug or alcohol issues, they might be in a lot of debt, and they might be at risk of losing the tenancy. So we would then identify their needs, and we would find the relevant agencies that specialise in the particular needs of that tenant. There are a number of ways that a tenant may be identified to the service. It could be that a housing officer has actually gone to do a routine visit and they've identified that the person seems very depressed, they seem very unhappy, their property is very disorganised, they have no interest in their tenancy. Or it could be that a rent officer has identified that the tenant's housing benefit is actually stopped. Why is it stopped? So they would go out and ask that question. That could bring up a whole range of issues of why. We're not actually qualified social workers. We can't provide personal care or cleaning services or cooking services. However, we can refer tenants who have them needs to the appropriate agencies, and that's a very, very important thing, because tenants don't know what is actually out there for them. We do know what's out there for them, and that's the whole point of our scheme. We can refer them and make sure that they have the support that they need.
£331 a year to manage a property.
We let 1,260 homes last year.
It takes 17.5 days to re-let a property.
We collected 99.6% of rent throughout the year.
Over the next 12 months, we want to further develop our current choice-based letting scheme by developing a more proactive exchange facility. We've always had an exchange scheme in place within Liverpool Mutual Homes, but it's not widely publicised, and there are limitations. Through the sub-regional scheme, customers will have an opportunity to consider exchanges amongst a whole variety of landlords. And the benefit that provides is for any of our tenants who are worried about the implications of welfare reform, and in particular the bedroom tax, it will give them an opportunity to consider downsizing and swap properties with other people who are also registered. Well, moving forward, we want to extend the opportunity to develop local letting schemes. We've got 4 local letting schemes in place at the moment. One in Rockchilders in Old Swan, one on the Fountains Estate in Liverpool 4. We've got a new one on Broad Lane, which is Liverpool, well, it's Norris Green, and we have our final one is in Soho, Trinity Street, just on the outskirts of the city centre. In developing those local letting schemes, we've involved local residents, community groups, other housing associations and the City Council. And what we were trying to do was turn around areas where they'd previously been unpopular, low demand and suffer from high levels of antisocial behaviour. So we gave the community and residents an opportunity to have real input in how we would frame allocations in the future, and they have been successful. We are doing quite a lot of work with credit unions to try and look for opportunities for people to take advantage of managing their money to a much greater extent. So we've done a lot of work so far, but we're looking to extend that. We also want to make sure we provide an opportunity to reward our good tenants. So this year we're looking to develop a tenant reward scheme, and we're looking to provide an opportunity to reward those tenants who are paying their rent, maintaining the terms and conditions of their tenancy, and abiding by all their obligations in terms of what we consider to be a good tenant.
The standard is about how LMH work with other organisations to the benefit of your neighbourhood and community, and how we consult with you to manage and maintain the condition of your neighbourhood, and also how we tackle antisocial behaviour. The standard expects LMH and other providers to cooperate with partners to promote the social, environmental and economic well-being of the neighbourhoods where we manage properties. Last year, we decided to have 3 main priorities to support this standard. The first priority was to operate a 24-hour service for customers to report antisocial behaviour. What we have done to achieve this is we now operate a service where customers can report antisocial behaviour to us at any time during the day, 24 hours a day. We are also currently updating our software, and this will improve our internal processes. 1,198 cases of antisocial behaviour were recorded.
97.3% was responded to on time.
Our second priority was to work with the City Council and other providers to promote a shared standard across the city for tackling antisocial behaviour. The shared standards across the city are a service standard that focuses the priorities of all of the organisations involved, ensuring that we take preventative action, that we take prompt and decisive action, we use all of the tools and legal powers available to us, and of course importantly that we support and help the victims and the witnesses in very difficult and traumatic times. Well, LMH has led on developing and launching a new citywide shared standard for antisocial behaviour across the city. LMH have also led on the Antisocial Behaviour Best Practice Forum for Liverpool, and we've also signed up to a shared standard for managing hate crime. Our third priority was managing our Community Initiatives Fund of £450,000 being used to target jobs, education, training, community initiatives, environmental and youth engagement projects and other wellbeing activities. Our customers are involved in assessing those applications and of course making sure that those applications that come to us are of benefit to Liverpool Mutual Homes customers.
Community Initiative Fund is a fund that we use to work with partners to tackle the priorities that customers tell us are in their wards. We work with the police, the fire service, the local authority and many other partners in the area to ensure that we're all working together and not wasting money, duplicating what each other are doing. 2011-12, the Community Initiative Fund was £205,000 thereabouts, and it was divided across the wards based on the numbers of properties we had in each of those wards. The money was spent on projects that were important to the customers, and they tackled various things like antisocial behaviour, youth and engagement, community development and health and well-being. Examples of this are we've given money through the grants to local community groups such as pensioners clubs and importantly youth clubs and local gymnastics club, and there's one local gymnastics club in particular that we've enabled them to develop and grow through providing money for equipment that they've bought.
Over the next year, we intend to implement the recommendations of the Tenant Scrutiny Panel on reviewing antisocial behaviour. We hope that this will lead to increased customer satisfaction. We will also be reviewing how we collect customer satisfaction data and how we manage antisocial behaviour complaints so that we can ensure we respond quickly to customer dissatisfaction. We will also continue to provide support and help to our most vulnerable tenants, and we'll also be continuing to promote our wellbeing initiatives and healthy lifestyles. But we've also delivered a whole range of community impact days across all of the city, working together with partners to deliver those events. Our staff go into the areas, engage with the community. We try to set up residence groups through the engagement work that we do. We work with the youth, we deliver environmental clean-ups during those days, we do door-knocking exercises, we carry out tenancy audits, and we look to see if there's any help or support that we can give to tenants during those impact days, or try to identify any particular issues or priorities within that area that we can take away from the impact day and look to tackle that going forward.
Value for money is something that's very dear to our hearts in LMH, because basically it's making the best value of all of our resources. And the way we look on it, it's the tenants' money and it's their money, and we need to make sure it has its best use. Yeah, one of the priorities we had was to put forward a suggestion scheme for both tenants and staff to get the best value for everything, because really they're the people that know all about it. So what we did is we've introduced a scheme called All Ideas Matter, which is known as AIM, and we've promoted that through the internet and obviously through the intranet for the staff. And we've got probably over 50 suggestions that we've got in the first 4 months that we've put forward. We've taken about 40% of those on board, and probably the biggest area we've looked at is the use of new technology. We've looked at apps, and we've looked at maybe the use of texting, so it gives better communication and more direct communication with us and our tenants. We have a small reward system or reward scheme, and it's the maximum's £50 that we give out. And in the first 4 months, we've given out over £800 to both tenants and staff alike. And so we've got some really good suggestions. Our second priority was to deliver the 2011-12 VFM, as we call it, Value for Money targets. And what we do is we benchmark ourselves through an organisation called Housemark, which is a national organisation which benchmarks all the housing associations and like organisations as ourselves. And we compare on how we perform, and what we aim to be is the best in everything. And I know that's sort of a utopian idea, but we're striving to do that. And what it does is when we compare ourselves, we look at where we've got areas of weakness and we concentrate on that. The third and final priority was about the efficiency plans. And what we do is we've developed efficiency plans right through the organisation to deliver quality services, but it's the financial gains that we get from these services, from these plans that we put forward. These savings that we make are then reinvested in what we know as the social dividend, and that gives more choice to the tenants on how they spend the money. So you're looking at things like communities and neighbourhoods and how we spend more money on that. Last year, our efficiency plans delivered over £500,000 worth of savings. We made quite a fair bit of savings through our voids, through rent loss on voids, which we've already mentioned. And also we cut down on our professional fees, use of outside agency fees, and we made about £200,000 on that. So we've made major strides in 11-12, and we're going to make even bigger strides in 12-13.
My name's Peter Evanson. I'm the chair of the Tenants Resident Scrutiny Panel. I was appointed in June 2011. The panel's made up of a really dedicated team of tenants who freely give their time up, and we've done 3 reviews up to now. We've looked at complaints, we've looked at antisocial behaviour, and we're in the final stages at looking at improvements. We've been very impressed with the work that LMH have done to date. The tenants really believe that things have improved to what they were when they were part of the previous administration. But there are still things to improve on. Like every large organisation, there's more to do. The best bit of the reviews is actually when you produce the report and you identify a number of recommendations. We recognise that that's not the end of the story, because although There's a fair amount of work gone into producing the report. The key element is making sure that those recommendations are delivered. So as we've finished one review, we also are thinking of the next one, but we're also looking back at previous reviews to make sure that the recommendations that we've made are being delivered upon.
In 12-13, what we're going to do is we're looking at our new efficiency plans, and obviously it gets more pertinent because we've got quite a few things coming up in the forthcoming year, you know, with welfare reform, where we're not sure what the effects are going to be. So we've got to have an even tighter control on our costs and make sure that we are delivering the value for money. So these efficiency plans should be in place by November. In 12-13, what we're going to do is we're going to do best value reviews, is what we call them. They're really about value for money. And what we're looking at is two areas that we've identified. One is the repair service we provide in our void property, which is quite high when we're comparing it with other similar organisations. So we're looking at what we're putting in there. And also we're looking at our customer involvement service and making sure that we're getting value for money and making sure the customer are getting the best possible service. LMH is always about making your money work harder, and what we've got now is we've got over 300 staff work directly for LMH. I think we've got another 200 working on Housing Maintenance Solutions, who's our repairs arm of the company, and this is all about how we make our money work. So we've got what we spend our money on and where we got our income from. If we look at the income first, most of our income comes through rent, as you'll expect. We've also got service charges on certain services we provide, which we don't statutorily have to provide. And we also get some gap funding from the government, which will help maintain our properties and to put the improvements into the properties to make the properties better. To do with expenditure, our biggest cost would be the improvement programme, over 60% of what we spend on improvement programme. We had a programme last year which we spent and delivered over £70 million worth of improvements throughout our tenancies. We also have a large repairs programme, which is over £12 million, I think, last year. After that, it's what it costs us to run the organisation. So the management costs, we call them, in the main, they're going to be sort of salaried staff, and that relates to the 300 staff that we've got working.
Priorities was to review our office accommodation, and we've taken a decision with our customers to move to a new headquarters. The move to the observatory we think will really improve the service we offer to our customers. It's right next door to the central bus station in the city, so customers have got really good access to it. We have had customers involved in terms of designing our new office accommodation at the observatory. Our disability focus group has been quite heavily involved, and they've given us some helps and tips in terms of making the building more accessible to customers. Second priority we had was we promised to produce information about complaints both on our website and our newsletters. We think that we've improved the way we give information out on complaints to our customers. We publish information in the newsletters, on the website, and in our annual report. The third priority we have was to develop a youth panel. Young people are the future for LMH, so we're keen to get them involved with us. So what we did was, with our rent statement, we wrote out to everybody and gave information about what we wanted to do with young people. From that mail out, we've compiled a list of people and families who've got children between the ages of 17 and 25. What we're now going to do is contact those people and try to get a panel together to see what we can do for them and what they can do for us.
The Residents Association was formed in March this year officially. It was set up with LMH. We had regular meetings with them. They let us know what was happening on the estate, and if we had any problems we would go to them, bring them up at the meetings. It was very informal originally. LMH had decided that we're going to refurbish the estate. In order to do it without upsetting the residents, they got involved with us and asked us to give them our ideas, what we would like, and we started working together. Catherine, the communications officer at Mark Street, came along and said, "Oh, you've been nominated for Residents Association of the Year." I thought, well, that's a bit of a surprise. We went along to the Isle of Gladstone Conservatory for the awards, and it was a good night, and we thought, well, it was a few drinks and lots of applause and that. I was absolutely gobsmacked when we won it. I couldn't believe it. It was just a shock. We were dumbstruck, really were. We know we'd done well on the estate. We know we'd done well for the people on the estate. And to actually win an award in such a short time was absolutely fabulous. It doesn't matter whether you live in a small street or a huge estate. Get together with your neighbours, decide how to make your neighbourhood better, go along to LMH, have a chat to them, tell them what you'd like to do and see what comes back from there.
Our customer service centre picked up 157,000 calls.
The cost of resident involvement per property is £42.25. 50.4% of tenants were satisfied with the way we handle complaints.
The governance and viability standard covers areas around how the organisation is effectively managed and controlled, and how the activities are overseen and made sure, and how the board particularly makes sure that we comply with our obligations to not only to tenants but to regulatory bodies and financial institutions, etc. But the second element of the standard deals with viability, and we need to make sure that we're a viable organisation. So we need to make sure that we comply with all our loan covenants, for instance, and requirements placed on us by those other organisations, and with an organisation that's here for the long term financially. In 2011-12, we said we would review the diversity and the makeup of the LMH board to make sure that we can represent the individual and very diverse communities across Liverpool as much as we possibly can. During 2011-12, we also set as a second priority the fact that we would have open board meetings to give an opportunity for shareholders to actually come along to board meetings and see what's going on at board meetings, but also make sure that there's that transparency available right the way through from the board, through to tenants, shareholders and others. Well, within the year, we established open board meetings, and to facilitate that, we separated all our board business into two individual sessions, a confidential session for the board, which will deal with those detailed financial and other matters which are of a confidential basis, but also putting the vast majority of items into an open session where shareholders can come along and observe those meetings and see what's going on at the board level. The third priority within this standard was relates to the establishment of the new coalition government which came into power in 2010, and following that we saw a huge shift in public policy and a whole raft of policy changes which would affect LMH and organisations like LMH. And so we made a commitment for 2011-12 to review the impact of that public policy and those changes upon LMH to see how that places us and our business going forward. Within the year, we did a scanning process across that external environment to see what changes to public policy and policy areas in general would affect LMH and what the potential impact of those policy changes would be.
I wanted to join the board of LMH as a leaseholder. I wanted to make sure that the views were being represented fairly across the business. Not just as a leaseholder, not just for myself personally, but for the community and for the people that I live amongst. Really, that's why I wanted to be a board member. I've lived in Liverpool for over, I don't want to give my age away, but over 50 years. I love the city. I'm immensely proud of the city. I think LMH is a fabulous organisation. I'm not just saying this because I'm a board member. I think that they're intrinsically, the values permeate from the CEO right down to everybody I've ever come into contact with in LMH. I think they're a fabulous organisation. They genuinely and truly care about the communities. I think some of the things I enjoy about being a board member are sit and listening to views from other people with completely different and often opposing views to my own. And it's good to learn from other people, because I think genuinely quite often we go through life in this little bubble and we think that we've got all of the answers, and to sit and mix with people from all different walks of life and in different stages of their life has just been really eye-opening for me. I love being a board member and I find it hugely rewarding. It's probably the only thing I do outside of the day job that allows me to try and put something back into the community. I absolutely love being a board member. I'd actively encourage anybody to become a member of the board. I think it's hugely rewarding. I think you're treated with respect. It's an opportunity to be heard and to have your opinions listened to. I think it's very rewarding.
Thank you for watching.
Translation, braille, audio tape and large print
are available on request.
Call us on 0800 678 1894.
See you in 2013.